My daddy owns everything. My daddy owns everything. Psalm 24, 1 and 2, the book of Psalms. My daddy owns everything. Somebody who is there, go ahead and read Psalm 24, 1 and 2.
The earth is the Lord's.
The earth is the Lord's.
The fullness thereof.
And fullness thereof.
The world and they that dwell therein.
Therein.
For he had founded it upon the sea.
Yes.
And established it upon the floor.
Now the Bible says that the earth, it belonged to God. That God there, if you like, remove the Lord there and put your daddy. So the Bible says that the earth belonged to your daddy, because your and everything in it. He said because your he said because your daddy founded it. Not only that he founded, your daddy established it. I want you, so he owns it. The earth and everything in it. Excuse me. I wake up your consciousness. Don't think I'm preaching. There's a consciousness that will help you to understand it. My joy is in you understanding this. I wake up a consciousness that will help you to understand what I'm saying. The Bible said it's my daddy that owns the earth and everything in it. Because not only that he founded it, he also did what? He also established it. If you look at the book of Psalms, chapter 115, the Bible said the heaven and the heaven and heavens belong to my daddy. And then he gave the earth to me. Because daddy cannot live here. He cannot. No, daddy can't live here now. So when he made the earth, when he made the earth, he left it for me and then stayed in heaven. So there are two territories. There are two territories. The territories where my daddy is controlling in heaven as a spirit, and the territory of the earth that my daddy must depend on me to control, because he can't be here. And I will tell you what is important. Please, before I make you see Psalm 115, I would like you to look up. If I tell you this honest truth, don't ever forget it in your life. Anybody that meets you after this service outside the gate will meet your father. What are you saying? I said, we meet who? And it's not only meeting your father. The person will meet whatever your father have achieved in you. You can't hide it. If you're here, you're a man. If you want to marry a lady, you should marry what the father of that lady achieved in that lady. Because that is the life of the girl. There are some girls, when I see them around, when I see the way they walk, I know that way they are walking is not how women walk. I know now if they are my daughters, I will start flogging their leg to teach them how women walk. Very, very early. You see, because value should be produced from people. You don't leave God to do for a girl, your girl, what you should do for her. But what about if you don't know how a man should walk, how a girl should walk, and you don't care? Why do you want to give birth to a girl you don't want to train? If you didn't train a girl or a boy, you have destroyed her. And excuse me, I don't care what you think. If you're here and you don't have good relationship with your father, or a man didn't do a job in you, let me tell you from the order that something is already wrong. There is a job a man is supposed to do in your life when you are growing up. A man should do, whether you are a boy or girl, a man should do a conscious walk, just like I'm doing it now. A pastor should do a conscious walk. You see, because that walk will speak. Nothing is called inheritance until somebody is raised up. Please, it is as you're looking at me, you are understanding me differently. As you're looking at me now, you are understanding me differently. And you're hearing me, you're understanding what I'm saying differently. You are understanding me from what is already in you. So sometimes it's not just what I'm saying that matters, it's what you are understanding. And then I am not the one controlling what you are understanding. Somebody who has the place you came from is contributing. So it is not only me that matters. What your daddy has achieved in you also is contributing. It's not just about me talking here, because I will soon stop. What matters is, what are you getting from who you are and what is produced from you by daddy. Have you wake up in the morning and tell your daughter that you don't like this and she must not live that way, and you're strict on it? There is no no child that doesn't make effort to please his daddy. When I was growing up, all the things my father told me he doesn't like, I avoided them. And because, listen, he was also ready to support his emphasis. We can. So sometimes when I don't fear him, I do what? I fear Ken. Now listen, in Nigerian university, they will not admit you into university until you're 16. They say they have changed. Now, why they say you should come into university by 16 years and live on your own is because they believe by that time that you are already formed by daddy. So when I got to Unijos in 1986, I couldn't change. It's not making meaning to you. Daddy was no longer there, but he has produced me. He has produced me. He produced me that time. He was not there to watch whether I smoke cigarette or hang around with girls or take alcohol or join court boys or trying to take alcohol. Daddy was not there anymore, but I didn't need him anymore because he has completed the job at that age. So by that time I can live for myself. And the university authorities or Nigerian University Commission already know that at that age that the job is done. The child have got to mind. Therefore, so he can live for himself. So the man was no longer important to me because he has formed me already. So all I was trying to do in the campus is to live out for him. To live out. Just live out. What I said I should do? I keep on living out. I was doing what? I live out the life. I can live out the life. There are two ways. He emphasized on discipline, on reading, and then supported we can. So most of the time, if I don't want to respect him, I will respect Ken because of the pain of Ken. So sometimes a child should respect Ken. It's not what I want to talk about. Psalm 115. Psalm 115, 15 and 16. If you are here and there is something that your daddy didn't do for you, make sure that when this service goes, you start doing it for your children as quickly as possible. If we are doing fasting, when you go home, you're going to say, no, look here. This is 2015. In this local service where people don't die, we are doing fasting. Did you get it to your brain? And today is Sunday evening. When you're coming here, you hold them by hand. I said, what do? You hold them by hand and bring them here. And then when you're going home, he said, that the shepherd was saying about interpreting this in my book. What do you understand? Training the boy is a part of your job. See training your child as a job, a responsibility. You must do it whether you like it or not. You must, because you're already giving birth to her. There's something John Masco said in one of his books that touched me. He said when his father, something that made that man leadership teacher. He said, the man said, when he was a young boy in his secondary school in dormitory, that each time a preacher will come into a city, his father will come to the dormitory where he is and pick him out and say, John, and a popular preacher is in the city, and I want me and you to go and listen to him. His father, he said he would take him by hand, and when they enter into where the man is preaching, he will sit down with John, and they say, listen to him. That is how John Maxwell became a world name. There is a vacuum in every child that need to be filled with something. If you don't fill that vacuum with anything, the boy will fill it with what he sees. His eyes will magnet anything around, or he grows wide. He grows on his own. He starts growing on his own. And a child that is going on his own is getting ready for destruction. Psalm 115, 15 and 16. He said, you are blessed of the Lord, which made heaven and what?
Earth.
And the heaven, even the heaven,
Are the Lord's.
But
the earth had he given to the children of men.
Now the Bible said the heaven of heavens belong to who? Belong to daddy. And but the earth has he. Wait. I want you to write down. One of the ways to know your destiny is to know the number one influencer of your life. I'm going to give you 1 minute to write it down. I said one of the ways to know your destiny is to know the number one influencer. And then number two, after you have known your number one influencer, you should be able to know your relationship with that influencer. Three, you should be able to know how ready you absorb what the influencer is imparting. I said there are 3 ways to know your own destiny, how your future look like. Number 1, you will know your capital influencer. Now, let me tell you quickly that your daddy is supposed to be capital influencer. Daddy. And then he will recruit teachers, and he will recruit guardians who will continue to help him, who will continue to help him to influence. When the Bible says in chapter 4, 1 to 7, that that boy will be subjected to teachers and governors. God is saying, the Bible is saying, Apostle Paul is saying that teachers and governors are daddy's assistants. That is why if you're here, it is still your duty to choose the school your children will attend. And you please pray about finding out the school they must attend. They must do what? Because it is your job. Because that school is still part of you. It is a school. It is a particular school that have your kind of ideology. If you're here, maybe it's a particular, how do I say it? You are a disciplinarian. There are people like disciplinarian. There are people that like discipline. So sometimes they consider schools where there are discipline. There are people that have that like godliness. So more than whatever they teach, they take their children to missionary schools. Now those schools, the teachers in the school are there to continue what you would have. The job of impartation that you began in the house. Excuse me. I speak to you again, something you need to write down. Every human being on earth lives from his mental framework. Let me say it again. I said every human being on earth lives from his mental framework. Now when you meet a man, you meet the man's mental framework. Now the mental framework is a place of organized thought. I said, and it is a place where thought, organized thought is taught, information is taught, impartation is taught. Mental framework, it doesn't, it's you know, because people speak from their mental framework. The moment you see, you say it, Those who are around you will know how rich you are. Let me say again. I said, the moment you say it, people around you, if you meet somebody who is organized, the moment you talk, the person will know your value. Because when you thought produce words, words produce actions, actions produce habits, habits produce character, and then character will land men to destiny. So when somebody talks from thought, it doesn't hide who he is, and then that thought and the word connect him finally to destiny. So so when you speak, I will know you from your word. Excuse me. Sometimes when these things are finished, pastors will start praying. Praying does not alter mental structure of an adult. The Bible says in the book of John chapter 10, 34, 35, the Jews began to have problem with Jesus, because Jesus was talking from organized thought, from high intelligence, from the thought of his messianic value. When Jesus opened his mouth, I said he began to do what? And tell me, thank you, let me tell you something. At the age of 12, Jesus was in the temple to argue with professors, with doctors of law, with Pharisees. Now, do you know what gave him the boldness to argue? A 12-year-old boy was arguing. Do you know? Because he has known the power of thought. He will look at them and say, the way you're looking at God is not how God is. 12 years old boy. And then he was strong on what he was saying, that he stayed there for 3 days without eating food. That was impartation. That was what made him a Messiah. He recognized thought. Excuse me. There are some of us that when you go somewhere, people are saying things that you're not supposed to accept. You hide what you know. You hide your organized thinking. And because you want to be popular, you don't want to resist anything, you start buying into that foolishness. Jesus didn't do that. But adults who are still buying into things because they want popularity. Jesus didn't buy into the thought of the Pharisees. And if Jesus had, at the age of 12, was able to speak his mind, why will an adult be fearing people? Why will somebody who is 18 years not look at somebody and say, I can't die? So I said, I want you to write down again. What if you're here, you have a daddy that's meant to influence you? Whatever that happened to that daddy will affect your life. Let me say again. I said, if you're here and you have a daddy, or the capital man of your life, maybe somebody who is in the room of daddy, like a Mordecai, that is also maybe an ideological fatherhood. I'm going to control it. Somebody, maybe daddy is no longer there, and somebody is there now. I'm going to take a short time to talk about, because there is a two fatherhood here. I've mentioned that the day I preach on the fatherhood of every destiny. I'm going to brush it a little while before I go ahead. I would like you to listen. Sometimes, if you are very unique like Esther, God can bring a Mordecai. But whether it is your biological father or a Mordecai, anything that happened to your father, the man that represents your fatherhood, happens to you. That is why there are some people that when evil want to happen to them, the devil will organize that people who are important to them will be taken away from them early in life. Maybe somebody didn't hear what I said. So that the people will not have the opportunity, to take advantage of support. Even though Joseph was not the real father of Jesus. Try and pay attention. He was still used to serve him. The angel will go to Joseph and say, take him out because he's young. Run quickly to Egypt right now, because he will die. He needs your help. That is daddy. I want you to reflect 1 minute and go back to see whether there was anybody who was insisting that you will be something when you were growing up. I want to reflect back and look back to check to see whether there was anybody who you were afraid of. I want to reflect back to see whether there was somebody who under whose whims and caprices you were subjected to. Daddy has the ability to cast demons with Ken. I said, Daddy has. No. He can cast demon. Don't you know that there is a kind of daddy you will have, you will not suffer certain things. He will tell you priorities. Church, should I go ahead? Should I go ahead? I said here, I said, every kind of destiny is shared with his source. Write it down. And you know, daddy is root and destiny. Let me share again. I said, every kind of destiny is shared with the source of that destiny. So if you're here and something is telling you you're going to be one of the greatest men of the world, you're going to find out the fatherhood of that thing you're thinking. You're going to find out the origin of that imagination. You're going to find out the what? You see, because the origin of that imagination is the guardian angel of the imagination. I said, is the what? I said, the origin of that what? Imagination is the what? Is the guardian angel of the imagination. So if something is telling you you're going to be president of Nigeria or one big thing, you're going to find out the spirit that owns that thought. Let me tell you something very quickly. That thought cannot originate from you. It cannot. So when the thought is coming to you, you should find out the spirit that is planting that thought and begin to get very close to that spirit for intimacy. If your daddy is the owner of everything, he needs to be a king. Let me take, and I said, if your daddy is a what? The owner of everything. The only room where a man should stay to own everything is from palace. It is only a king that can own everything. So if your daddy is king of other kings, because if he must own everything, he cannot be an ordinary king now. He will not be like Buhari now. He has to be like Obama. Obama is in the office of king of kings of the earth. That is where anywhere there is a war, they must be part of it. That is policing the world. So Obama is like in the office of king of kings and lord of lords. I would like you to pay attention. The asset of every king is in the mentality of the king. Because it's in the mental framework of the king. It's what controls what he has. Now some people avoid their mental framework and they want to have things. Whatever you have should have origin from your mental assets and should be sustained from your mental framework. Let me say again. Whatever a man has should originate from what? From his mentality and should be sustained. One is it should be sourced and then should be sustained. It is not possible to comfortably separate source from sustenance. So if you're saying, I will take over the world, find out the owner of the thought. In Matthew chapter 23, Jesus began to say, he said, if you want to have this type of destiny that you have, a destiny assured, a destiny of immortality, then he said, man should not occupy the place of fatherhood in your life. Man. Please pay attention. Before we read that scripture, I want you to listen. There are some things that people don't have framework to have, but they want to use prayer to assess it. Excuse me. Let me give you a moment to write down your paper. Prayer does not give men destiny. I don't care how long your prayer can last. I say prayer doesn't give men destiny. Destiny and inheritance is logically given. Logically. It's given intelligently. And I would like you to listen. It is what men have that their children inherit. Let me say again. I said, it is what men have that. Why not? So if you want to say, my daddy is King of Kings, you will not say, what does he have? Everything. And then what is my portion in it? What is my portion? Somebody here should listen to me and watch the church in Lagos, watch the church in Nigeria, watch the church in the world, and see whether the church is moving forward or not. The church is chasing shadow. The church is into error. The church is wasting time. When I was writing down that course this morning, it's one of the most beautiful things I've ever written in my life. When I was writing that course, I said that it is that people are supposed to see their future in documented materials. People are supposed to see their future in books, not in the thatched house of a frustrated prophet. Not in the thatched house of a soothsayer. So your future is in a document. It's already documented. When Jesus was born, he went to the document of his life and found out all that was written concerning him. So he began to know what to avoid and what to apprehend. If you look at Matthew chapter 23, verse number 9, somebody may really quickly say, find scripture. Somebody's there thinking now. Let me tell you what you should think. I want you to start thinking in your heart and say, who is the person who has influenced me most? I told you, I said, why when you enter into, why the school said, come, that boy or that girl should come to university and live on her own, is that they believe that at the age of 16, that daddy has completed his job. So, I used to tell young men, if you're listening to me now and you don't have mentality of majesty, somebody said, you will see what I will become. At what age? Whatever that you are not at the age of 25 is late. 25 is even very far. 12, Jesus was already arguing to give direction to his life. Why he went to the temple is to tell everybody that this is my direction. Something happened one day. While we were in secondary school, we were very young. And we just finished JSS 3 together in 1982. I traveled to Kano on holiday and came back and told my father that I want to change school. That I want to change school from the town secondary school to a local government secondary school. My father told me, biological. He said, what is the meaning of trying to change school? That this one here is very close. I said, these people don't have even single pendulum. And I'm science inclined. And I want to go to school where they have good laboratory and order. Even the one I went is not so okay too. When I told my father that thing, my father was reluctant. He was reluctant. Do you know what I did? I left my father and went to that school and saw uniform, white and white. I went to the school and did what? I saw the white and white and put on their blue badge. And yet nobody have accepted me. One day somebody was going on and said, hey, he said, Chris, he said, that man, that school, that man there, that teacher there is from your village, is from your town. Somebody from my town was teaching in that school. I went to him. I said, excuse me, he said, I said, are you from my town? He said, yes. He said, well, listen, you're from my